Video opens with fast-paced, almost jarring cuts. An assembly line moving in perfect sync. A pristine, minimalist white room. A perfectly straight highway stretching to the horizon. Then, a sudden glitch effect. A single red domino falling into a field of white ones. A splash of vibrant paint across a black and white photo. Narrator: we are taught from birth to color inside the lines. Follow the recipe. Wait your turn. The rules, they tell us, are what? Separate order from chaos. They build societies, create safety, and pave the road to progress. Narrator: but what if that's only half the story? What if the most important moments of growth, for you, for me, for all of humanity, happen not when we follow the rules, but when someone dares to break them? Narrator: in every culture, in every great myth, there is a ghost in the machine, a glitch in the system. They are the spirit of mischief and the agent of change. The sacred fool, the cosmic jester, the divine troublemaker who asks why when everyone else is content to say because. The montage settles on two powerful images. First, an ancient Norse carving of a cunning, ambiguous figure. Second, a vibrant West African illustration of a spider, holding a glowing orb. Narrator: we know them by many names.
In the frozen halls of Asgard, he is Loki, the silver-tongued shapeshifter whose chaotic schemes both endanger and, paradoxically, save the gods from their own rigid perfection.
In the sun-drenched stories of West Africa, he is Anansi, the spider who, with nothing but his wits, tricked a powerful sky god into giving the gift of stories, and with them, culture and wisdom, to the powerless world below. Narrator: these figures aren't just villains or simple comic relief. They represent one of the most powerful and misunderstood forces in the human psyche, the trickster archetype. This is the essential part of us that questions authority, challenges dogma, and finds the hidden door in the perfectly smooth wall. And understanding this archetype isn't just an academic exercise. It's a practical guide for navigating a world that demands we constantly innovate and adapt.
It's about recognizing that moment when the system becomes too rigid, when the rules stop serving us and start imprisoning us. It's about learning why, sometimes, the most creative, the most necessary, the most evolutionary thing you can possibly do
is break the rules. Narrator: to understand the trickster, we have to look inside. The psychologist Carl Jung called it the shadow, the part of ourselves we often repress. It's our inconvenient desires, our unorthodox thoughts, the things that don't fit neatly into the polite persona we present to the world.
We're taught to fear this shadow, to lock it away. But the trickster teaches us that within that shadow lies immense power, creativity, intuition, and the ability to see the world not just as it is, but as it could be.
Cut to a rapid-fire sequence of historical and scientific breakthroughs born from mistakes or rule-breaking. Alexander Fleming noticing the mold in his messy petri dish. A scientist looking at a blurry, ruined photograph that turns out to be the first X-ray. A splash of coffee on a blueprint, sparking a new architectural idea. Narrator: the system, by its very nature, is designed to preserve itself. It resists change. It punishes deviation. But progress is, by definition, a deviation. It is a mutation. The trickster is the catalyst for that mutation. They are the happy accident, the unexpected variable, the question nobody thought to ask. They are the messy lab that discovers penicillin. They are the programmer who runs the code just to see what happens, and stumbles upon a revolutionary breakthrough. Narrator: but we have to be honest here. There's a razor's edge between the creative trickster and the destructive one. This is not a permission slip for anarchy. Loki's schemes, after all, ultimately led to Ragnarok, the twilight of the gods. Anansi could be a selfish hoarder of wisdom, as often as he was a generous giver. Narrator: when this energy is driven by pure ego, by a desire to tear down without any thought of what to build in its place, it becomes toxic. It's the conman, the nihilist, the saboteur. The difference lies in intent. The evolutionary trickster breaks a rule to reveal a deeper truth, to create a better system. The destructive trickster breaks a rule simply to watch the world burn. Narrator: so, the real question is, how do we harness this? How do we become the Anansi of our own lives? and not the Loki at his worst. It starts by learning to ask 3 trickster questions. Narrator, first, which rule is obsolete in your job, in your creative process, in your daily routine? Find one rule you follow simply because that's how it's always been done. Is it a weekly meeting that accomplishes nothing? A step in a recipe that adds no flavor? That is the first wall to test. Push on it. See if it's as solid as you think. A graphic overlay shows a person in an office deleting a recurring meeting from their calendar. A chef tosses a cookbook over their shoulder and adds a surprising ingredient to a pot. Narrator, second, can I change the stakes? The trickster is a master of reframing the problem. When Anansi was tasked with capturing an impossible-to-catch swarm of hornets, he didn't fight them. He tricked them into a gourd by turning it into a game. If you're facing an unbeatable problem, stop trying to win by the established rules. Change the game. Propose a ridiculous solution. Turn a confrontation into a collaboration. Narrator, and finally, the most important question, what if I'm wrong? This is the trickster's secret weapon, humility cloaked in arrogance. They are willing to fail, to look like a fool, because they know that failure is just data. Breaking a rule might lead to a dead end, but at that dead end, you will have learned more than if you had stayed on the well-trodden path. We see a montage of beautiful failures, a collapsed but interesting-looking sculpture, a computer screen full of error messages that reveals a single, elegant line of new code, a person falling, but then laughing and getting back up. Narrator, the world will always give you a map, a set of instructions, a perfectly drawn set of lines, and most of the time, that's a good thing. It keeps the cars on the road and the planes in the sky. But the map is not the territory. The rules are not reality. The final visuals mirror the opening, but are now transformed. The falling red domino sets off a chain reaction that creates a stunning, complex mosaic. The splash of paint on the black and white photo spreads, revealing the entire scene in brilliant, vibrant color. The perfectly straight highway now has a beautiful, winding scenic route branching off from it. Narrator, growth is never a straight line. It's a clever detour. It's a loophole. It's a joke told at the most serious moment. The trickster within you isn't asking you to burn it all down. It's just whispering, from the shadows, a simple, powerful idea. There's another way, and all you have to do is be brave enough to look for it. Narrator, so, we look for the obsolete rule. We reframe the problem, and we embrace the possibility of failure. It sounds simple enough, but in practice, our brains are wired for the opposite. They are efficiency machines, designed to create shortcuts, build habits, and automate our thinking to follow the map. Narrator, waking up the trickster, then, isn't a one-time decision. It's a habit. It's a muscle you have to build, and it starts by recognizing this archetype isn't just in ancient myths, it's a vital role in any healthy system. Cut to visuals of a thriving, innovative tech company. People are brainstorming on glass walls, laughing, experimenting with strange prototypes. The environment is one of creative, controlled chaos. Narrator, look at the most innovative companies.
They have a trickster department. They just call it research and development. Their entire job is to break the current model, to make their own company's products obsolete before a competitor does.
They are paid to ask, what if we did the exact opposite? The story of the post-it note is a perfect trickster tale. A scientist at 3M, Dr. Spencer Silver, was trying to create a super strong adhesive.
Instead, he created a spectacularly weak one. A failure. By the established rules, it should have been thrown away. We see a simplified animation, a formula for glue being created, then a big red, fail, stamp.
But then, a hand peels the stamp off, revealing a question mark underneath. Narrator, but another scientist, a trickster-minded colleague named Art Fry, reframed the problem. He wasn't trying to stick things together permanently. He was a choir singer annoyed that his paper bookmarks kept falling out of his hymn book. He didn't see a failed glue. He saw a solution to a completely different problem. He changed the stakes. And $1 billion product was born from a mistake. Narrator, This idea is so crucial that wise leaders have built it directly into their power structures for centuries. The court jester wasn't just there to tell jokes. He was the only one who could speak truth to the king without losing his head. He used humor to poke holes in royal ego and bad policy. He was a sanctioned glitch, a safety valve for a system that would otherwise become too rigid, too tyrannical, and, eventually, too brittle to survive. Narrator. And it's this same energy that drives social evolution.
Every major leap in civil rights began with someone breaking a rule that was not just a guideline, but the law. Rosa Parks sitting at the front of the bus wasn't just an act of defiance.
It was a trickster act. It reframed a daily routine into a profound moral question, exposing the absurdity and injustice of the system for the entire world to see. It revealed a deeper rule, the rule of human dignity. Narrator. And if we look beyond Loki and Anansi, we see this figure everywhere, wearing 1,000 different masks. In Native American traditions, he is often Coyote, who can be a creator god, a bumbling fool, or a selfish thief, all in the same story. He teaches that life is unpredictable, and that even from foolishness and chaos, new worlds can be born. Narrator. The ancient Greeks had Hermes, the patron god of merchants, travelers, and thieves. On the very day he was born, he snuck out of his crib, stole his brother Apollo's sacred cattle, and then, to smooth things over, invented the lyre from a tortoise shell and gave it to him as a gift. He is the master of the deal, the negotiation, the clever solution that turns a crisis into an opportunity. We see classical statues and paintings of Hermes, with his winged sandals, a blur of motion. The visuals emphasize his speed and cleverness. Narrator. So, how do we add their tools to our own toolkit? Here's one more technique, used by strategists and creatives alike.
It's called inversion. Narrator. Instead of asking, how do I achieve my goal? Ask the opposite. What would I do to absolutely guarantee I fail? List all the ways. Procrastinate. Never ask for help. Follow every instruction blindly. Insult my boss. Now, look at that list. That is a crystal clear roadmap of what not to do.
The trickster shows you the path forward by gleefully pointing out all the traps. The visuals show this in action. A writer struggling with a blank page. They type how to write the worst book ever. A list appears. Use cliches. No plot. Boring characters. The writer smiles and starts writing, now free from the pressure of perfection. Narrator. But the final, most potent secret of the trickster is this: they never fully believe their own hype. The moment the trickster thinks they are no longer the jester, but the king, the moment ego replaces wit, is the moment they lose their power. They become the rigid authority they once mocked. They become the con man who starts believing his own lies. Narrator. The ultimate trick is the one we play on ourselves.
We convince ourselves that our way is the only way. That our map is, finally, the true territory. This is the shadow at its most dangerous. Narrator. Harnessing your inner trickster isn't about becoming a rebel without a cause.
It's about integration. It's about having a respectful conversation with your own shadow. It's knowing when to follow the recipe, and when to add that secret ingredient that only you can provide. It's knowing when to drive on the highway, and when to take that intriguing, unpaved road just to see where it goes. The final montage is softer, more personal, a grandfather letting his grandchild paint his face. A classical musician suddenly breaking into a jazz riff in the middle of her practice. A chef laughing as a sauce explodes, then tasting it and realizing it's delicious. Narrator. The system is not your enemy, it's a starting point. The rules aren't a cage, they are a jungle gym you can choose to climb in new and interesting ways. The most rigid structures in your life, your habits, your job description, your fears, are often unlocked by the smallest, most playful turn of a key. Narrator. The lock isn't on the door, it's in your mind. And the trickster holds the key. The screen, which had faded to black, fades back in. The narrator is now standing in front of a large, modern whiteboard covered in what looks like a chaotic mind map. Arrows, questions, drawings, connecting disparate ideas like quantum physics, Dadaism, and stand-up comedy. Narrator. The key in your mind. It's a powerful metaphor. But it raises a terrifying question. What if you unlock the wrong door? What if you break the rule that was actually holding everything together? The fear of chaos is real. The fear of being the fool who brings the whole house down is paralyzing. Narrator, this is where the trickster's true genius lies.
It's not just in the what, but in the when. They have an innate sense of a system's stress points. They know when a structure has become so brittle that a single, well-placed tap will shatter it into something new. This isn't about random acts of rebellion. It's about strategic acupuncture. Narrator, consider the story of Scheherazade from 1001 Nights.
She faces a rule that is absolute, deadly, and unjust. The Sultan marries a new bride each day and has her executed the next morning. A direct assault is impossible.
A protest is pointless. So what does she do? She doesn't break the rule, she bends it. She plays a different game. The animation shows Scheherazade stopping her story at a cliffhanger as the sun rises.
The Sultan, hooked, is shown tapping his fingers, impatiently waiting for the next night. Narrator, by telling a story she cannot finish in one night, she creates a loophole. She forces the Sultan to choose between his brutal rule and his own curiosity. She changes the stakes from a power struggle to a narrative one. For 101 Nights, she uses the power of what happens next to dismantle a tyrant system from the inside, not with a sword, but with a story.
She understood the when. You introduce the new idea at the moment the old one is most vulnerable. Narrator, Scheherazade gives us another tool, a sibling to inversion.
Let's call it the reframe. It's the art of changing the label on the box. Is this a crisis, or is it an adventure? Is this a limitation, or is it a creative constraint? Narrator, when NASA was developing the space pen in the 1960s, they spent millions to create a pen that would write in zero gravity. The trickster solution? The Soviets used a pencil. The story is an urban legend, but the lesson is profound. The problem wasn't how to make a pen work in space. The problem was how to write in space by reframing the question. The obvious, simpler solution appears. Narrator, the ability to reframe is directly tied to a concept from Zen Buddhism, Shoshin, or beginner's mind. An expert knows all the reasons something can't be done. They see the world through a filter of established rules and past failures. A beginner, a fool, has no such filter. They are free to ask the stupid questions that can lead to genius. We see a montage of masters of their craft trying something new for the first time. A world-renowned chef clumsily learning pottery. A theoretical physicist trying to play the ukulele. They are awkward, but also joyful and uninhibited. Narrator, cultivating your inner trickster is about actively protecting your own beginner's mind. It's giving yourself permission to look at a problem you've faced 100 times as if you are seeing it for the very first time. To ask, why do we even do it this way? To admit, I don't know. In our culture, those three words are seen as weakness. The trickster knows they are the beginning of all wisdom. Narrator, which brings us to the trickster's favorite weapon, humor. Visuals cut to a classic court jester, bells on his hat, theatrically whispering into a king's ear. The king first looks angry, then bursts out laughing. Narrator, laughter is a physiological glitch. For a moment, it short-circuits our critical thinking brain and connects us to a deeper, more intuitive truth. When you laugh at a joke, you get it instantly. There's no logical process. That's why tyrants hate satirists. A good joke can dismantle a bad argument faster than any debate. Narrator, so here's a final, practical exercise. Let's call it the Jester's test. When you're stuck, when a system feels oppressive, ask yourself, where's the joke here? What is the hidden absurdity? Is it the corporate policy that requires 3 levels of approval to buy a $10 mousepad? Is it the unspoken social rule that we must all pretend to be incredibly busy and important all the time? We see a person in a deadly serious corporate meeting. Suddenly, in their mind's eye, they picture everyone at the table wearing clown noses. The image makes them smile subtly. Their posture relaxes. They are able to see the situation with new clarity. Narrator, finding the absurdity doesn't mean you mock it out loud. It means you are no longer intimidated by it. You've seen the crack in its armor. You've seen the king is wearing no clothes. And from that place of inner freedom, new solutions become visible. Narrator. The journey of the trickster is the journey from the straight line to the complex web.
It's messier. It's more unpredictable. But it's also where life truly happens. It's where you find the connections no one else saw. It's how you build a life, a career, or a piece of art that isn't just a copy of the instructions, but something authentically, uniquely, and powerfully yours.
Narrator. So, the next time you feel that little nudge to step off the path, to ask the silly question, to connect the dots that aren't supposed to touch,
don't dismiss it as a distraction. That's not the glitch in your system. That is the system, calling for an upgrade. And it's chosen you to be the one to install it.
The screen, which had faded to black, remains black for a moment longer than comfortable. Then, a single line of code appears, as if being typed, backquote greater than run diagnostic, backquote greater than checking core integrity, backquote the text vanishes. The narrator is now in a different space. It's minimalist and modern, perhaps a workshop or a design studio. Behind him are prototypes, half-finished projects, and diagrams, the evidence of creative trial and error. He holds a 3D printed object that is intricate and seemingly impossible in its geometry. Narrator. So, you've found the key. You've listened to the whisper from the shadows. You've asked the Jester's question. You've reframed the problem. And you've broken the obsolete rule. Narrator. And for a moment, it's glorious. There's a rush of freedom, a flash of insight. But what happens the moment after? The system pushes back. Because systems, whether they are corporate hierarchies, social circles, or even your own internal habits, have an immune response. And the trickster, the anomaly, is often treated like a virus. It is isolated, attacked, and neutralized. The revolutionary is called a troublemaker. The innovator is called a distraction. The truth teller is told they lack tact. Narrator. This is the hidden cost of the trickster's path. It can be a lonely one. But nature has a lesson for us here. Not every mutation is a cancer. Some are the foundation of evolution itself. There's a biological concept called exaptation. It's a feature that evolves for one purpose and then gets hijacked for a completely different one. Feathers might have first evolved to keep a dinosaur warm, but they were later exapted for flight. A trick of cosmic repurposing. The animation shows this. Feathers on a small dinosaur providing insulation. The scene then transforms, and those same feathers are now on a wing, creating lift. Narrator. Think about that in your own life. That distracting hobby you have, that's your feather. That quirky part of your personality that doesn't quite fit your job description. Feather. That past failure you've been carrying around, that's a feather, too. The trickster doesn't just see the world for what it is, they see its latent potential. They see the wing hidden in the winter coat. Your greatest breakthrough may not come from learning a new skill, but from repurposing an old one in a way no one, including you, ever expected. Narrator. But this act of repurposing has become infinitely more complex, and infinitely more dangerous, because today, the trickster lives online. We see a dizzying montage of the digital world. Deepfake videos morphing one celebrity into another. A viral meme spreading across millions of screens in an hour.
An anonymous hacker exposing a corporation's secrets. Narrator. The digital world is the trickster's native playground. It is a system of rules, code, that is practically begging to be bent.
Here, the shadow self can operate with anonymity and at scale. It can be the digital saboteur, using misinformation to tear down social trust. Or it can be the digital Prometheus, the ethical hacker who finds the vulnerability before the criminals do. The citizen journalist who breaks the story the mainstream media won't touch. The digital artist who uses a software glitch to create something beautiful and new. Narrator. The modern challenge isn't just about waking up our inner trickster. It's about developing the wisdom to discern the tricksters around us, to ask of any disruption, any hack, does this create, or does it only destroy? Does it liberate? Or does it merely entrap us in a new, more clever cage? The difference, once again, is intent. And it leads to the trickster's final, secret transformation. The visuals return to myth. We see the world after Ragnarok. It is not a dead, empty wasteland. It is green and fertile. Two humans emerge from the world tree, ready to begin anew. Narrator. The ultimate paradox is that the trickster, the agent of chaos, is essential for creating a more resilient and meaningful order. Loki's schemes burn the world of the gods to the ground. Yes, but the story doesn't end there. After the fire, a new, more beautiful world is born. Anansi's tricks don't just win him stories, they create the very fabric of culture that holds his people together. Narrator. The journey doesn't end with breaking the rule. The final step is to create a better one, a more elegant one, a more human one. It's not just about escaping the trap. It's about designing a better one, a system that catches wisdom instead of mice, that encourages creativity instead of conformity. The final montage is quiet and constructive. A manager throwing out a dense, jargon-filled employee handbook and replacing it with a single page that says, Rule number 1, use your best judgment. Rule number 2, see rule number 1. A city planner turning a rigid street grid into a shared space with parks and pedestrian walkways. A musician meticulously sampling a mistake from a recording and building a powerful, beautiful new song around it. Narrator. Order and chaos are not enemies, they are dance partners. The structures we build give us a platform to stand on. But it is the mischievous, unpredictable, trickster spirit that provides the music for us to dance to. Without the platform, there is only falling. But without the music, there is no reason to move. Narrator. So go ahead, find the obsolete rule. Reframe the problem. Ask the silly question. See the wing in the winter coat. But do it not just for the thrill of the break. Do it because you have a vision for what could be built in its place. Be the glitch. Be the happy accident. Be the ghost in the machine. And then, be the architect of the new one. He gives a slight nod, a gesture of respect to the viewer. The screen holds on his face for a moment, then fades to a calm, quiet black.